Well, good morning, everyone. Joining us via Facebook. Welcome to this special press conference at the UWP headquarters here at Colony House on the John Compton Highway. This morning, we are going to be discussing our national convention, and we have our public relations officer, Mr. Spider Montoot. That should be Leonard Spider Montoot, who will be addressing you this morning to give you details about our convention and how the plans are coming along for the important activity happening this Sunday. So without any further ado, I will introduce our lone speaker for this morning, Mr. Spider Montoot. Over to you.
Thank you very much, colleague, ladies and gentlemen of the media. As you have been told, Sunday the 16th of April will be a very grand occasion for the United Workers' Party here in St. Lucia, as we will be staging our national convention. And this convention is a very important one for us at this time. It is a stepping stone, a launching pad, so to speak, for the party. And as we go into the convention, we will be settling the issue of leadership and the party executive. And we're going to move forward in terms of setting our agenda for the next 3 years. The party convention, as I said, is a grand occasion for the party, and it is more than just Sunday, because we are going to begin our activities on Friday with a barbecue in Soufrière. On Saturday night, that is, we are going to have the country and western dance, and on Sunday we have the convention. But at the same time, on Sunday afternoon, we have an event for party supporters who will be converging on Soufrière, and that is the family beach party. And in the evening, we will be having a massive public meeting. But to speak specifically on the convention, let me just indicate, quite apart from ratifying the officials to form the executive and the leadership of the party, one of the highlights of Sunday's convention is our keynote speaker. We have invited from our sister party, the UDP, United Democratic Party of Belize, the Honorable Shine Barrow, who is the leader of the opposition and the leader of the United Democratic Party, to address our gathering. At this time, we are excited to have Shine Barrow because if you know his history, he is an individual who was a renowned rapper, a Grammy Award-winning rapper. He has had his scrapes with the law, but he has transformed his life upon his return from the United States to Belize and went into politics. And he has become a very successful politician to the extent that he is now the leader of the opposition, a very popular leader of the opposition in Belize. If I may, just allow me to read a bio on Mr. Shine Barrow so that you can get a better appreciation of just who he is. He is the opposition leader of Belize, that is the Honorable Dr. Shine Barrow. He is a member of parliament who is married and a father of one daughter that has, for the last 15 years, dedicated his efforts to the sustainable development of Belize. Opposition leader Barrow was a world-renowned Grammy Award-winning writer, performer, and publisher before transitioning in 2010 to use his expertise to help transform the creative sector in Belize by serving as the ambassador of culture for the government of Belize. As I indicated, he was in the music business, and the genre that he was involved with was rap music. Since 2013, the Honorable Dr. Barrow has also been a devoted servant leader to the Mesopotamian community, first as Vice Chairman of the Constituency Executive Committee and Director of the Mesopotamia Human and Social Development Foundation, before being elected to the Belize House of Representatives in November 2020. Honorable Dr. Barrow served as Chief Party Whip for the UDP before he was elected Leader of the Opposition in 2021. Then in 2022, he was elected Leader of the United Democratic Party, which is the most successful post-independence mass party in Belize, having won five of the last 9 general elections, 3 of which were consecutive terms. And in April 2023, Honorable Dr. Barrow was re-elected to serve as leader of the UDP until the 2025 general elections. In the House of Representatives, Honorable Dr. Barrow sits on the Committee of Foreign Affairs, House Committee, National Security and Immigration Committee, Education and Housing Committee, just to name a few. Through education scholarships, job training and job creation, entrepreneurship, small business support, family support, gender equality, youth engagement, sports development and citizen security, Honorable Dr. Barrow is transforming his constituency and constituencies throughout the length and breadth of Belize. Honorable Dr. Barrow continues to advocate to improve the standard of living for all Belizeans by pushing for public policy that calls for investment in human development, increase in minimum wage, access to education, the creation of industries, economic growth, citizen security, diaspora voting rights, and accountability and ethical governance. As I said, Dr. Barrow, or Shine Barrow, as he is popularly known, he was affiliated with people like Sean Combs, big moguls in the rap industry, and he found himself having a scrape with the law back in I think it was 2001, where at a nightclub there was a shooting incident, and he was charged for discharging bullets in a public place, and it was said that 3 people were injured, and he was convicted to 10 years imprisonment, of which he served a little over 9 years. Okay. After having served his term, he returned to Belize and decided to transform his life and got involved in community life and subsequently in politics. We think at this time, at this juncture, given his influence as an entertainer, as a musician, given the fact that he is relatively young, he's just in his 40s, he is someone who can captivate the youth, who the youth can relate to, and who will have influence on the youth. I think his life story, if his testimony is given, can be very powerful and influential to indicate to our young people, especially at this time, given what is taking place in St. Lucia, that they too can transform their lives, and leave the bad boy gangster type of lifestyle and become productive citizens in the country. And that is the message we are hoping, most of all and above all, that will emanate out of his address at our national convention. And so we are very excited to have him as our guest speaker, and he will deliver the keynote address, which we think will connect with our youth and is very appropriate given the times that we are facing here in St. Lucia. And when I talk of the times that we are facing here, it is no secret the high incidence of crime that we are having. And despite the best efforts of our government, we see that their efforts are not paying dividends. So obviously, what is being done is not working. And what is being done now is to try to reach the hearts and minds of our young people, especially those who are involved in a life of crime, and who has more legitimacy to speak to them than someone who has been there himself and who has transformed his life and who can connect with our young people. And so we are excited to have Shine Barrow at our convention, and hopefully during his short stay in St. Lucia, he will have an opportunity to meet one-on-one directly with some of our young people here in St. Lucia. And we're hoping that his message will resonate with our young people, because these are the kinds of efforts that we must engage in. And I dare say that photo ops, such as going to Vieux Fort and walking around the streets of Vieux Fort, will not help. It will not change anything. As a matter of fact, the Prime Minister, in his best efforts, should realize by now, just as Dr. Anthony, a member of his party, says, the measures that have been taken are not working. They are not paying dividends. And so a new and different approach should be taken. And one of the suggestions I would dare make right now is to call on the Prime Minister to dismiss the National Security Minister because he has failed miserably in his responsibilities. And so the Prime Minister will have to determine in his cabinet who is the best suited person to fit that bill, but the current National Security Minister has been a failure. We had, for example, the killings that took place at Independence, okay, the most bloody Independence Day celebration that we ever had. And it almost took, spurring for the Prime Minister to come out and make a statement as Prime Minister and as Minister of National Security. The following weekend, we had some 9 killings. Since then, they have taken some drastic measures in terms of bringing to St. Lucia the RSS and beefing up the policing in Vieux Fort. But even under the nose of the RSS and the beefed up police presence, we had the Easter weekend, another bloody weekend, where we had 4 murders in Vieux Fort once again. Something has to be done to bring to an end that kind of criminal activity that is taking place. The fact that Vieux Fort seems to be under siege and nothing can be done. The parliamentary representative for Vieux Fort, the Prime Minister, and an effective National Security Minister will have to work in conjunction with the police and the citizens of St. Lucia to bring this situation to a rapid end, to appease not just the citizens of Vieux Fort, but the rest of St. Lucia, because not just people in Vieux Fort are living in fear now, the rest of St. Lucia are very concerned about what is going on. So I am open for any questions if you have any. And I just want to reiterate what we have always said. The United Workers' Party stands ready. And despite the continuous rejection of our offers, we continue to make the offer to work with the government in the effort to solve the criminal activity. In the meantime, we will take steps within our means and powers to do what we can to ameliorate the situation. Yes. In terms of what? Yeah. Well, I did not hear his comment. Oh. Okay, you want to know, you said that the Prime Minister made a statement about the fire licensing board. Well, I did not hear the statement. However, I am hoping that it will be a board of credible people with integrity. Because, some St. Lucians are now expressing concerns and worry, okay, at some of the people who are currently holders of firearms. They are former convicted murderers who carry licensed firearms in St. Lucia today. I'm not saying that people cannot be reformed, and as I've just spoken of a gentleman who has demonstrated a reformation in his life to the extent that he's potentially the Prime Minister of his country. I'm not saying that is not the case, but we have to know that people have reformed. They must demonstrate that they have, and we must be cautious, especially given the kind of climate that exists now. Who is allowed to be a carrier of a firearm? And the other thing too is we spoke of Dr. Shine Barrow, addressing our convention, and I spoke of his legitimacy to address the subject at hand. Legitimacy is a very important factor, and we must ask ourselves, does the government have the legitimacy to speak to St. Lucians on the subject of crime? When I, for one, speak to St. Lucians, the first thing they do is point a finger at the composition of the present cabinet. And if you have people within your midst who have questionable background, okay, and who are questionable characters, you will have a problem addressing the subject with any authority or legitimacy. And this is one of the first things that the Prime Minister has to do. I have said it before. He indicated that there are accusations and allegations about members of his cabinet, or rather about politicians, but no one in his cabinet has been fingered. Well, let me remind the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Minister of National Security, that Richard Frederick a member of his cabinet, a minister in his office, the office of the Prime Minister, has been fingered by the very St. Lucia Labour Party that he is leading. And there are many questions about his character. One, St. Lucians still want to know the reason why there was the visa revocation. And at this time, the United States is refusing to grant him a visa. Two, St. Lucians want to know the latest disclosure that was made about the closure of his account, whether that is the case and why was that done. When you level with St. Lucians and you account to them and let them know exactly what the situation is, then they may take you seriously. So if the Prime Minister wants legitimacy, he has to start in-house.
Thank you to our Public Relations Officer, Mr. Spider Montoot. We want to thank you, the media. This is a very important convention for the United Workers' Party coming up on April 16th. We, the United Workers' Party, we take the responsibility seriously of reorganizing ourselves following the last election defeat. And so this is so critical. We are very thrilled and excited and encouraged by the overwhelming support we get from St. Lucians, both locally and abroad. We have coming in for the convention a very large contingent of individuals from the St. Lucian diaspora, a lot of supporters, as well as our various chapters in Canada, London, as well as New York. We have representation that are coming in. And we believe that this is an indication of the level of importance that they too place on the future of this country and the issues that we're facing now and why it has become extremely imperative for the opposition to reorganize itself. So it's a pretty big deal. The next election is going to be the most important election probably in this country's history. And so what we have to do is to make sure that we have a very successful process of reorganizing ourselves. And the convention is a very important step towards that. So we have a new executive that's coming in, and that new executive has been charged with the responsibility by the delegates and members of the party to ensure that we take the party in a direction that is going to meet their dreams and aspirations. And so it's absolutely crucial, the step that we're taking. We had our conference of delegates, which was very successful in the community of Micoud, and all of the candidates that vied for various positions went up uncontested. And I dare say that there was an overwhelming support for all of the various positions, none less than our political leader, Honorable Alan Shasney, who was unanimously nominated and unanimously appointed by the delegates. So the convention is an important step to ratify all of the positions, from political leader to treasurer to public relations officer and chairman of the party, to be ratified at the convention this coming Sunday. So it is a very important step in getting ourselves ready for the next general elections. I thank you, members of the media, and I also want to thank listeners on Facebook for your own patience and time and for tuning in this morning. We anticipate your support in Soufriere. I must tell you, members of the media, that we're getting a lot of phone calls, people asking about buses and T-shirts and paraphernalia for the public meeting in Soufriere, which is to follow. So there's a lot of excitement, and we are very enthused and inspired. I think that this is being driven by the fact that people have had some almost 2 years of the Labour Party, and the majority of the population, they have graded this government F in terms of the management of crime, the management of the economy, the management of important sectors like education. They have just been a total disaster. And St. Lucians now haven't had the opportunity to compare the direction that we were going and the direction that this government has so far taken the country. They have been able to make a very effective comparison. And I think that a lot of people are rejecting the idea and the direction with which this government is taking the country. So, very important step on Sunday again. Just to wrap it up, it starts, a lot of people are going to be coming to these events, none less than our public meeting, and we look forward to having a very successful convention to be followed by our public meeting in the community of Soufrière. So thank you again for your time, and thank you for coming to this important press conference. Thank you.